And that's all the time is. No, you're going to roll. Get your show on the road. Get on. This is the thing. Didn't go. Didn't want to.
No, let's sit.
Grand, fine. Yeah, fine.
And I just want to tell you a small bit about the background to this project. First, this site that we are here on today was in the ownership of Beth Collins, and Beth unfortunately died at a very young age a few years ago, and her family, including her daughter Margaret, who's here with us today, decided to donate the plot of land to the local community. And we decided that we would put this garden in here, and that we would do it in the memory of Beth Collins. And we will be unveiling a plaque there soon to the memory of Beth Collins. So it was very generous of the Collins family. This little plot of land, the way land is going at the moment, would be quite valuable. So in memory of their mother and their loved one, they gave it to the local community, so now it will be here forever as a testament and in Beth's memory. So I would like, on behalf of our committee, Margaret, to thank you sincerely and your family for giving us this opportunity to provide this beautiful garden and to retain it in memory of your mother. So thank you very much. Martin Lane, he lived for a while here. But going back over the years in the 19th century, whether it's verified or not, the great John L. O'Sullivan, his grandfather, was supposed to have been born here. And the locals always call it the Boston Sullivan plot. And it has never been contradicted, although apparently Longford and a few more counties claim that John L. O'Sullivan were born in their counties as well. But certainly the local tradition here would seem to support the view that John L. O'Sullivan's grandfather was born right here, and the older folks would remember him as a great boxer long ago. He was the world champion. So it has a bit of history, and also this is the River Road, and for people who were going fishing and going down to the local sports field for some time and to the pump here, this was a very familiar sight. Now we're very fortunate that here today that we have Lynch. He's chairman of the National Council for the Blind here in Kerry, and he's the representative for this district on the National Council of the Blind. And you might ask, why did we ask Liam Lynch to open this Millennium Garden? Paul Kennelly, who I would say, and Paul always is very much in the background. He's over here in the background at the moment. Paul has put more work than anyone into this garden, and there are 2,000 plants here in the garden, and Paul produced all of these over the winter. He was getting them ready for the garden. He has planted them, he keeps it maintained, and really, more than anybody else, I think Paul deserves the credit for what we have here today. He's over there in the background. Paul decided, funny enough, Paul never met Liam Lynch until today, but they often spoke over the telephone, and Paul often heard Liam Lynch on Kerry radio as well. And they struck up a very, very close friendship just over the telephone at a distance. And when we thought about getting somebody to open this beautiful garden, Paul suggested Liam Lynch. And I think it's most appropriate because we're all very fortunate to have our faculties. I think that our eyesight is probably one of the most important faculty that we have. It's great to be able to see nature. It's great to be out on a beautiful day like today and see nature flourishing around you. And for someone who's blind, obviously it's a major disadvantage. And I think it was very thoughtful of you, Paul, that you decided that a blind person should be here and open this garden today. So I will now call on Liam Lynch, who's going to address you. And Liam will unveil the little plaque over here. And then afterwards, Margaret, Beth's daughter, is going to say a few words and cut the tape. And the facility then will be open to everybody to have a look at it. So Liam Lynch, so if you would come to the podium then.
Now, to the microphone in the hand.
That's fine.
No. Okay, right. I don't know if the Reverend Forders, I suppose probably ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Millennium Project here in Finuge for according me this lovely privilege of standing here today to open this Millennium Garden. First, I would like to ask you for your patience and understanding, as I possibly have no notes, and whatever I will have to say will have to come from my inner thoughts, of which Jimmy has already described. This garden here today has left a very good impression in my mind. I believe that it is made in the shape of an All-Ireland medal, and believe it or not, I thought for a few minutes yesterday evening it was the only one we'd see in Finuge. But I hope that's not the case anyway. I think I asked for your patience and understanding, so I will continue. I am being blind for the last 15 years or more, and during that time I have been associated with the Kerry Blind. But I also got involved with the other people with disabilities in the county and became a board member of the Kerry District National Council for People with Disabilities in Tralee, where I served on a board for 3 to 4 years. It was here that I met people too with physical disabilities, with plenty of ability. Such people such were on wheelchairs, the blind, the lame, and above all that terrible hidden disability of mental illness, which is often very not understood by people living, because they can see the person in his prime of his health, but that man too suffers a terrible disability. When I came here today to Finuge, I wondered really why I should come and address this place, but I am very proud and thank the committee for inviting me here today. I asked myself if I had any little association at all with the parish and with the people of Finuge. Well, of course, like many a young fella, when I was 16 years of age, I made out for the Las Vegas ballroom in Listowel. And I went in there and I was looking at this nice girl, and I said I would ask her to dance. And when I did, I said, "Would you like to dance?" And she said yes. But in doing so, I said, "I cannot dance." And she said, "That is okay, I will teach you." So I said, "It could take most of the night." And she said, "That's all right too." I stayed until I thought it was right time, and I suggested that I'd like to see her home. She said, "Really, would you?" And I said, yes. She had a quick look around the hall, and to my surprise, she said, "Okay." I got out 2 bicycles, and I said, "Where to?" And she said, "Finuge." Well, Finuge was a very long journey for a young fellow of 16 years of age, so we put up on our bicycles anyway, and I hadn't crossed the bridge when I got that terrible torment of any man that's late for a football match or a date. I got a puncture. a slow puncture rather, and I had to pump that bicycle several times between the bridge and Finuge. But when I came to Finuge, she said, it's a bit late. She said, and I'll have to go in the back door. I can't ask you in for a cup of tea. But I'll tell you what, Jerry, you can take my bicycle, and I'll bring yours back next month, Sunday night, till it's door, and we can exchange a bicycle. And I think that was the first start of I getting to know somebody from Finuge, knowing the character and the decency of the people that make up a community like that. She did not get that from her own, she inherited it from her people. And it is that sort of community and loyalty within a community that has made this beautiful project possible. When I come back here today, I'd love to continue my visit to Finuge with another lovely story. Oh, what a beautiful story it is for me to be standing here this morning. The story is a story of hope. Hope for small communities like the village of Finuge. Hope for the people in Ireland who live in these little areas that come into the community and by coming together can live the people to have a great pride in their past. Very proud of what you have achieved here today, and looking into the future. For the young people of Finuge, you have left something here that will be here for the next Millennium project. I am very proud and honoured that that should be so, because community that holds out its hand to its disadvantaged citizens, such as wheelchair and the blind, and are proud to ask somebody who's blind to stand here this afternoon, when there could be many other people that should do so, can be very proud. And I am very proud to be doing this also on behalf of the National Council for the Blind, and of course all the other people less fortunate who are living a life of torment, maybe in wheelchairs, and as I said, in the terrible state of mental illness. I am very proud and grateful to the Millennium Committee for inviting me here today. I would like to thank their chairperson and everybody involved for making it possible for me to come. It is now my great honour, and indeed on behalf of all free citizens all over the world, part of the people of Ireland, Kerry and everywhere, to declare that this Millennium project